it, and if ISD come through that door right now, they're going to get us all.
That is money there.
So before I go on, I am wearing a brown and brownish batik shirt. I'm in front of a map of Southeast Asia. My pronouns are he, him. This is a production New Naratif. Please do join, support as a member, newnaratif.com/join. Or donate newnaratif.com/donate. We need your support. If you'd like to talk more, we're holding an event next Friday at 8 p.m. Malaysia time, Singapore time, 26 March. It's called Baca with New Naratif. It's our monthly reading group, and you can sign up at the website or on our social media. Okay, cool. So joining us today, as always, my friend and co-host, Sean Francis Han.
Hi, yeah, super excited to be here today. We finally have the triple threat, right? All three big traitors, big, anti-establishment, out to get us organizations. I'm just repeating that statement.
Sure, okay.
Yes, okay, don't worry. I haven't been bought over yet. But anyways, yeah, super excited to get into this one. But before we get into it, my name is Sean Francis. I'm wearing a white shirt, black pants, and my pronouns are he, him. Terry, what are you wearing?
I'm wearing black and I'm he, him, I suppose.
Yes, that's it. All right. Okay, so PJ, can we jump right into it?
Yeah.
All right.
Except I put the screen in the wrong setting, so I'm not sure what I'm doing.
All right.
Oh no, chat overlay.
Hang on for
there we go.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go on.
All right, that was very quickly solved. All right, so Terry,
Yes.
can you give us a quick run through as to what on earth is happening? It was just a couple of weeks. Yeah, I mean, it was just a couple of weeks ago that PJ was called up for investigation, the big show, the big hoo-ha, right? And now, it's your turn, right? Or at least, it's been going on for a while now. But, for everybody that's been trying to keep up with all the nonsense that's been happening, can you just give us a quick run through what's going on this round? Why?
Well, what happened is on this Monday, I believe it's 3rd of March, it's the 4th of March, I can't really forget. I remember. Police officer turned up at my home at 7:30 together with mum,
all right,
who was returning to home from work.
Yeah.
And they told me, after asking them, the 3 officers, that they were here to investigate a possible offense of contempt of court.
All right.
Under the Administration of Justice Act.
All right.
Yes.
So what was the offending action that instigated this contempt of court investigation?
So I was baffled myself when I heard that, because to my recollection, all the articles and whatever publication that we have made so far surely wouldn't have committed such an offense.
Yeah.
And they told me that it was a letter written by actually not contributed by a netizen.
All right.
In regards to the opening speech by the Chief Justice for 2021.
Okay.
Yes, and basically they were just alleging that within the paragraph there were content that was were in contempt of court.
Sure.
But however, they were not in a position, neither would they actually clarify how is it in contempt.
All right.
And during my interview, I state clearly that I see no way how the content of the letter would be in contempt, given that it was addressing the Attorney General Chambers.
Yes.
And also it was addressing to cases that has already concluded. So meaning no further appeal is available.
Okay.
So there's no way that one would intervene into the cause of justice.
Sure.
Yes.
So what was the intent of this paragraph or this letter that the state found seditious or found unacceptable? Do you recall what exactly was?
No, that's the thing. See, they themselves they pointed me to 2 paragraphs.
Okay.
But I cannot tell from myself how the paragraphs itself is in contempt, given that it was addressing the prosecution. Yeah. Or I would term persecution by the Attorney General Chambers on the 3 individuals. 3 individuals, namely are Pati Yani, Lee Shuk-fen, Lee Shuk-lu.
Okay.
Yes.
So, I mean, but the content itself, what was the letter saying? So, I mean, I get that, there's no way on earth that this is contempt of court, right? And I think, I'm quite jaded with the system to the point where I feel like, you know, that they're willing to leverage very bizarre things and anybody who speaks out against them. But, you know, for sort of the sake of clarity and context, also, you know, what exactly did this contributor say?
Okay, if I want to sum up, basically, this is an open letter to the Chief Justice to ask him to sum up against the prosecution by the Attorney Generals on individuals like this.
Yes.
Yeah, because what you're saying that this three, or I wouldn't say all three, the Chief Justice did make mention to the Party Nia's case, stating that judges sometimes do get things wrong.
Yes.
And then the writer basically asked, why didn't you voice out against what happened to Sheng Wu and Sheffield? Okay. Yeah. And then goes on to make other points.
All right.
And I would sum up as the writer pointing out that the court should actually voice out against such prosecutions.
All right.
Yes.
Okay. So, I mean, that takes us to the broader context of a series of attacks that's been going on against TOC for just the longest time ever, right? I think the one that's currently ongoing and that's most pressing is the one that's sort of recently developed, where you sued for criminal defamation by the Prime Minister. So can you sort of take us through that?
Sorry. I think people, you know, a lot of my friends are confused because of the various cases that I have. So I'm not sued by the Prime Minister for criminal defamation.
All right.
I'm sued by the Prime Minister under civil defamation law.
Civil defamation,
yes.
Okay.
But at the same time, I'm also charged with criminal defamation.
Okay,
that's okay. So in 2018, December, I was charged for criminal defamation.
All right.
For publishing a letter that allegedly alleged the corruption of the cabinet.
Sure.
That's the charge that's put against me.
Okay.
Subsequently, in September 2019, I was sued by the Prime Minister for defamation.
All right.
Yes.
Is this the same letter?
No, it's separate
cases.
Separate. So we are sometimes I also lose track over the articles that I get sued for.
All right, okay. Then I think that this needs to be this needs to be roundly clarified, because I had a poor idea of what exactly has been going on.
Yes.
So 2018.
Yes.
You get charged with criminal defamation
for publishing a letter.
For publishing a letter.
Yes, this is with the Costa. Right?
Okay. So what was going on in this letter that led to this charge?
So this letter, I wouldn't go into the whole letter itself, but the offending letters, the offending paragraph had a point in terms of corruption at the highest echelon. This was the particular line in which they draw reference. And the IO, the investigating officer, has testified on the stand, stating that he viewed that particular line was referring to the cabinet. That's his view. The line doesn't say it's cabinet, but it is a view that line meant the cabinet. And it was his view that constitute criminal defamation, and he went to file a police report on himself. By himself.
All right.
By himself.
Okay. So you met the person who filed the, like, how you know who it's you? Okay, so you know who.
So in this is the old saying going, own self report own self. So because it is so bewildering that you have the police officer who filed the police report saying that an offense is committed, and then subsequently he is the guy who go and investigate that offense.
What is that permitted?
According to the Singapore law, yes. Yeah. Because what's really puzzling, right? That only at the trial itself, lead up to the trial, then we realize that it is not the IMDA who filed the police report, which in 2018 was told to everyone, including by the police.
Yes.
But it was revealed subsequently that it was the police who filed the police report that a criminal defamation has been committed.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So initially there was, to use the government term, a falsehood that it was the IMDA who filed the police report. I'm not saying a deliberate falsehood, and that was how it was originally published.
I would dare say on record that it was deliberate.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but the problem here is POMA does not apply to the ministries.
Yeah.
So that's the whole problem with POMA from the very beginning.
There's a lot of problems with POMA.
But that's the key problem, where ministers and ministries can say all the falsehood they want, or not, regardless whether it's deliberate or indeliberate, but they can say and they will not be prosecuted for it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, unless another minister wants to report.
No,
another minister, right?
No, the problem here is only that the specific ministry can make the report.
Yeah.
Meaning, say, I'm the minister.
Oh, I see. So if you're talking about your own ministry and you say a falsehood,
the other ministry cannot intervene.
Right, that's a good point. Right.
Yeah, it's not the case where all the ministers have their powers. Oh, I can actually look at other ministries. There's no check and balance in that sense, because the minister of that particular ministry can only check and balance his own preview. So, say, for example, if I say a dam has overflowed, the Home Affairs of a minister cannot come and say, "Oh, this ministry has lied," because there's no overflowing.
Right.
But the MEWR minister can actually make correction because that pertains to the ministry.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's why the POMA law was crafted in such a way that all ministers have powers, because they would be able to know minute details of their ministry, the details, and then issue a correction.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that brings us on to the next case, which is ongoing, where you're being sued by the Prime Minister. So can you tell us about what's going on there?
So we have reached the final part in which the cross-examination has finished.
All right.
We have already submitted our last submission to the court, and so the court has to now decide whether or not a defamation has been committed by the article that which is about Ho Ching sharing a toxic a post that talks about cutting ties with toxic relatives.
Yes.
Okay, so this is the current one. This is where you're being sued by Lgbt.
Yes.
All right.
So other than that, what is hampering the process of this particular suit is that the Prime Minister has also decided to sue my writer for this letter in a separate suit.
Okay.
Because my writer is based in Malaysia, so he decided, on advice of his lawyer, Tapinder Singh, to sue my writer who's based in Malaysia in a separate suit.
Yes.
So because initially in my case, I decided to represent myself because my writer was based in Malaysia, and given she's young, so I don't think she would be able to defend herself. So I can't make allegations about why decided to sue my writer separately instead of putting her as a third party in the suit that I am. But I would just say that this has convoluted the whole thing, making things so complicated.
Okay.
Sorry. So did he? Did the Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong sue her in a Singapore court, a foreign citizen, or did he sue her in a Malaysian court?
The former.
So he sued her in a Singapore, right? But she's not resident in Singapore. She's not a Singaporean citizen, and presumably she has not been in Singapore for a long time. But he can get a judgment in a Singapore court and possibly enforce it against a foreign citizen in another country. I mean, I guess enforcement is a different issue, but he's actually suing a foreign citizen.
So what you've described is exactly what would likely transpire, which is since my writer has not entered into appearance, has not sought to defend herself, so the Prime Minister has already gotten a summary judgment, just like in the case of Roy In. Okay. So that the only hearing that is coming up next is the hearing of damages.
Right.
So but you have noted the right thing, which is how do you enforce? Because if you were to go back in time, Teng Liang Hong's case.
Yeah.
What happened is when the Singapore ministers tried to enforce the defamation damages from the defamation suit, the Malaysian courts did not enforce that. They say no, go back. And I met up with Thum Hong, I think 2-3 years ago, and he told me that his access to Malaysia was protected.
Okay.
Because the Malaysian court refused to entertain the claims. Yeah.
Okay.
Luckily for him. Yeah.
All right. So I want to kind of come back here to
Yes.
the article, the offending article, about something quite bizarre, right? I mean, about Ho Ching making a Facebook post. So what exactly is going on there?
I don't think it's bizarre because we all know that Ho Ching makes a lot of Facebook posts a day. In fact, we calculated we documented through CrowdTangle, Facebook's algorithm portal, and we calculated on average her Facebook post makes about 200 posts a day.
200 posts a day.
Yes, it's not kidding. 200 posts a
But
day.
she's CEO of Temasek. Where she got time to post 200 times a day?
I think she has a team or whatever, but it's very clear from her posts. While some are posts automatically by system or by her team or something, some of the posts are clearly posted by her. So I would also dare say probably on a daily basis she makes about 4 or 5 posts herself at least.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So she has a team, maybe.
I mean, Wake Up Singapore doesn't even post that much.
Yeah, ridiculous.
Okay, so how is this article offensive? I mean,
based on the what the Prime Minister has claimed.
yes.
Okay, see, the thing is, the purpose of the article was basically to note how ironic that Ho Ching is sharing a post about cutting ties with toxic family, when most of us in public would regard her as the one that's been toxic.
Yeah.
Who it should be Li Weiling and Lee Hsien Yang cutting ties with her instead. Yeah, that's what I think most of us would think so.
Okay.
And that's why, and to point out this irony, meaning to point out the irony of Ho Ching sharing this post, we wrote a series of sequence of events that predate this sharing of the post. So we listed the Shepfen's disciplinary tribunal brought about by the Attorney General Chambers,
All right.
which is headed by Liu Hsien Wong, who is the Prime Minister's former lawyer who dealt with Oxley Road,
All right.
the property on Oxley Road.
Yeah.
And Lee Shen-Wu, who was also being charged with contempt of court, brought about by the Attorney General, again, leading from Liu Hsien Wong.
Yeah.
And even before that would be the 2017, June 2017 dispute between the siblings over the what would happen to Oxley.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
I'm still failing to see what exactly here is.
Okay. So
I mean, okay, I get, so I get that none of it makes any sense, right? This is something we have to get comfortable with living in Singapore. But let's try and step into the mind of the government. Why do you think they got so riled up about this? What do they think is the line you crossed?
On this, I don't think this involves the government because this is actually a personal suit, individual suit by the Prime Minister. But the question here is, why did the Prime Minister saw it fit to sue a editor of an independent news outlet, writing about allegations by the siblings, which has been made 2 years ago? I think that's the question. So many people has repeated the allegations. So many people have said about allegations. So many people believe in the allegations.
Yes.
But I'm actually on neutral. It's only when the suit was brought about onto me, and I discovered all these documents, the emails that late Lee Kuan Yew has written in regards to his son telling him that the house was being gazetted, things like that. Then I somehow changed my mind, drifted to the other side.
Okay,
and so your question will be why?
Yes.
Why
the line
this?
that you crossed?
I don't think it's the line. It's just I believe it's the timing.
All right.
When was I sued? When I was sued in 2019 December. Sorry, September. At that point, the government had only less than half a year to hold the general election.
Yes.
And I sincerely believe that what Lee Hsien Loong had problem with, right, is the allegations made against him by the siblings.
Yes.
Where people would look at him and say, "Oh, that's what you say with siblings," and most importantly, he chose not to sue his siblings,
Okay.
despite making that allegations that made or went around the whole world.
Yes.
And because of the stance that that the ministers have been taking so far, any allegations made against the ministers would have been action has been taken against them, which means that you have to file defamation suit against them.
Yeah.
So with Lee Hsien Loong's inaction, some people took it as, oh, there might be some truth to it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So now I'm sort of wondering, right? If these allegations primarily stem from Lee Hsien Loong's siblings, and you are publishing that, right, and then a corresponding timeline of events,
Yes.
why not go after the primary source of the allegations, which is the siblings?
Okay, from a legal perspective, I would need to defend Lee Hsien Loong by saying that the plaintiff would have the right to sue anyone he desires.
Sure.
Just like in the case of Yong Si Hian, 9,000 people shared the post, at least 9,000 people shared the post.
Yeah.
He decides to go out only after Yong Si Hian for sharing the post.
All right.
So the defamation law in Singapore
Yes.
is such that you have the right to pursue anyone, and you will not be faulted for singling out a person.
Okay.
But
I mean, I get that legally he has that right,
Yes,
right?
yes.
And I think legally there are tons of things which are permitted.
Yes.
Right. I mean, you can do bizarre things and not be called up by the law.
Yes.
But what sense does that make? Is it like a family thing?
Sorry, could you repeat the
I
question?
mean, in Parliament, he already said,
Yes.
he didn't want to sue his siblings
Yes.
because it would basically embarrass his father, besmirch his father's good name, blah,
Yes.
blah, blah. So I think basically that would be his public stance, right?
Yeah.
That I have already said in Parliament why I'm not going to sue my siblings.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that what they're saying is untrue, and therefore I'm going to sue the man who reported what my siblings said.
All right.
Or as we have called it on New Narrative, discretion. Yeah. So I think that's kind of what the logic would be. I think what is more interesting for me is what you were saying, the timing of it, because in September 2019, we thought the election would be January or November. Yeah, we thought it would be November, then we thought January, then we thought March, and then COVID overtook us all.
Yes.
So what you're suggesting is the reason why he chose that moment to sue you after 2 years of these allegations was so that people would be afraid of talking about it during the election. Is that what you're saying?
No.
Oh, okay.
My opinion on this is that he wanted me to apologize.
Okay.
Because the moment if I were to apologize, he would go out and say that, see, this guy has already admitted this is a falsehood. So if anyone else out there were to repeat the thing, how to say, everyone basically will be scared into reporting anything distantly connected to this. Neither would any politician dare to say, because the thing is, if it's stated as a falsehood by someone, especially say the other side, then it makes it very hard for people to continue holding on to this this stance that this thing about.
Once it's been tested in a court of law. Right.
And if the case did proceed as what was intended, meaning it'd be like within half a year, the thing will conclude. Because if not for COVID, we might be seeing the case hearing much earlier. So you would have the case conclude, if the court were to rule in favor of Lee Hsien Loong, then he would go out and say that, the court has vindicated my name, and it is the siblings that is in the wrong. All these allegations are falsehood. He could go proudly and into the
sunset.
No, sunset. The election booths and election, and say that.
And
yes. But the thing is, COVID overtook the whole thing, and he had no time to deal with that.
All right.
Yeah. Wow.
I want to kind of press you here on,
Yes.
on this thing that you brought up just now, which is the documents which the siblings have. So, if there are documents available,
Yes.
why aren't the siblings kind of presenting that? kind of playing devil's advocate here, but if they were enough to sort of change your mind.
So this is the question here.
Yeah.
Why didn't the Prime Minister sue the siblings?
Yes.
Because if the Prime Minister sued the siblings, they would have thrown the
All right.
You get me? Because
they would be introduced in the court and become public.
Yes.
Yes,
Right.
because but the thing is, the siblings were not sued.
All right.
So I'm the guy who's being sued.
Yeah.
So if I'm the guy being sued,
Yeah.
how would I receive documents from the two siblings?
Okay.
Because of course, they can pass it to me, but that looks a bit out of norm.
All right.
Yeah, because I'm not a party of the family dispute. So
You kind of are now because this
yes. But you have to understand the funny thing about how I got into possession of all these documents, because these documents came from the Disciplinary Tribunal of Lee Shui-fen.
Yes.
Because the Disciplinary Tribunal of Lee Shui-fen revolves around the seventh will that Lee Kuan Yew made.
Yes.
And because of the background, the context of this Disciplinary Tribunal, they had to actually throw in all the documents.
Yes.
Yeah, throw in all the documents that they have. And because of that, I spent $1,600 to purchase the documents, the public document from the Disciplinary Tribunal.
All right.
And then from there, flipped through and saw all this incriminate. I want to say incriminate. No, that's the wrong word to use. All this evidence to support my case.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if not for Lee Shui-fen being persecuted by the Attorney General Office, I would have nothing to act on, and I would have to be forced to subpoena the Li Weiling, Lee Hsien Yang to appear in court to sustain what they have alleged in their Facebook posts.
All right.
Yes.
So why not take that route? Why not take that route? Why not subpoena the two of them? Why not subpoena the two of them?
Okay, so a lot of people actually ask this: why don't Hsien Yang, Weiling come to my suit as a witness? Because they could actually take the stand and then confront. But the question, but you have to understand, in terms of strategically speaking, right, that would be horrendous, because the sequence of how the hearing will be heard will be Lee Hsien Loong will take the stand.
Yes.
Then because it's a plaintiff and he'll be cross-examined, and subsequently my side, which is my witnesses and myself.
Yes.
So if say example, Weiling Hsien Yang is being subpoenaed onto my case, so you have Hsien Loong, then myself, Weiling Hsien Yang, and not to say that he would, but he could. Hsien Loong could make all sorts of allegations about the two siblings, and the two siblings has no way to make any allegation that can be cross-examined back to the Hsien Loong.
Wait, why?
Because that's the sequence of how the hearing is heard. There's no way of you.
The defense can't cross-examine the plaintiff?
Because yes, we can, but the thing is
but he has to be cross-examined
first
before the others?
Yes. That's the sequence. So because of the sequence, right, it is advantage for him. Because bear in mind, even for Lee Hsien Loong, he can actually subpoena the two siblings. But why didn't he?
Yeah.
Because the thing is, if he does that, he would not be given the opportunity to have Davinder cross-examine, say you're a liar, you're whatever. You get me? So So
right.
I didn't realize the law was like that.
Okay, I think the problem with Singaporeans is that you watch too much US TV court case, even Hong Kong. So you think that the court behaves in such a way that it's so all fair.
I mean, I thought Hong Kong wasn't that different, because Hong Kong British, it's still British colonial system.
Yes.
But
again, even in Hong Kong court, Commonwealth law, you can't go that. So once it's cross-examined, you don't go back.
Really?
You can't call the plaintiff back and say, "Oh, do you have any evidence to be?"
Okay, I mean, none of us are lawyers, so I won't press this. But it just doesn't make sense to me. If someone says something in court, someone else contradicts them, you can't go back to the first person and go, "Aha, that person contradicts you. What do you say?"
That will be addressed in written submissions. Okay. Yeah.
All right. Okay. So,
so from a strategy point of view, there's a point, and most importantly, whatever the siblings have to say about the allegations, right? They have already said in their open statement, press release, and etc.
Right.
if you were to bring them to the stand,
Yes.
they would just repeat the same thing.
All right.
And you would ask, okay, so on what basis are they making an allegation? Exactly the documents that I have submitted to court, which we relied on on our case.
All right.
And all these documents were not presented by the Prime Minister.
Yes.
Because, okay, so again, from a legal side, when you have this type of suit, you would need to submit documents. This process is called discovery of documents.
Right.
So in this process, right, you are supposed to introduce documents that you have in your possession.
Yeah.
In regards to this case.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Right.
So
right.
I submitted my article, how many readership I had for this particular article, what was the background in which this article was published, and the comments that originated in regards to this article. And the Prime Minister submitted none of the emails that he had.
All right.
In regards to what the father said about the will,
Yes.
the house, and etc. It was only I had to introduce myself because he didn't come out with it, and I have to introduce from the district tribunal from Li Chufen.
Okay.
Yeah.
So are there so okay, I'm a little bit confused.
Yes.
There are certain documents that the public nor the court has seen that is in possession of the siblings right now. Is that right?
Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are there documents which the siblings are holding on to which have not been presented in court or to the public?
No, it's all in
So
the
everything's out there.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So everything's out there. Now I can sort of see why you don't want to subpoena them, because everything's out there.
Yeah, everything's out
All
there.
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's pointless to have them out and then allow them to be cross-examined by Davinder and for the sake of publicity on the news, saying that they lied. Davinder put it to their siblings that they were liars. And so this is typical game for the establishment.
All right.
So the fact that they were not there, you see, there's no story to be painted.
Okay. I sort of get that now.
Yeah. And look at what happened when Kwok Kim Lee had to come to court. Same thing, people. And it was only when Kwok Kim Lee came to court that people realized that Kwok Kim Lee told Lee Kuan Yew, not in the face, but through the email, that I cannot find a gazette. Yeah, people didn't realize that. And despite the fact that Sen Yang and Wei Ling had already said that out 2 years ago, people didn't catch it. That Kwok Kim Lee told the father that she can't find records of the gazette at least 3 times. So why did the father believe that the house was gazetted, despite there's no record of the gazette? That the lawyer told him that the gazette can be found. Why did he insist to believe that the house is gazetted? Yeah, that's the biggest question.
Yeah.
Yes. And also the position that I take.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So now that we sort of clarified that a little bit, right? Okay. So now that we kind of clarified that a bit, you're looking at potentially how much in damages?
So Davina's
what's the dollar sign?
Davina is basing the damages on Deng Liang Hong's case, which is 300,000.
All right.
300. He's asking for 300,000.
Okay.
For comparison's sake, Roy Ng got 150,000.
All right.
So 100,000 for the initial article that he published, and 50,000 from aggregated damages.
All right.
Because subsequently, after apologizing, he still made some subsequent posts and allegations and whatnot. So he got 150. And most importantly, what's funny about Roy's? What's sad about Roy's case is that because he apologized, he had no chance of fighting his case, despite having some grounds of why he made such a claim.
Yeah.
Because and that's the problem with. Okay, so I need to distract you for a while because that's on the point that you made much earlier. That Singapore, the problem with Singapore is that there's no public interest law. There's no public interest defense.
All right.
So meaning like New Naratif, Wake Up Singapore, TOC, right? If we were to publish something that we of good faith of someone alleging something, and that is what all news outlet does.
Yeah.
We cannot claim that we are doing because we are a publication, and this is our good faith, and we would definitely apologize or we would retrench, but we cannot defend ourselves saying that, we published this in good faith, and therefore there should be no claims made against us.
All right.
You cannot actually make such claims.
Yes. Okay. So this would be something like like a qualified privilege thing, or like a law that would protect journalists in the sense akin to a situation like Watergate kind of thing.
I think it goes beyond journalists. So you have academics as well.
All right.
People basically are not making claims malicious, but it's more of interest of the public to have this known.
That means, hey, the journalist or the academic is saying, hey, there's something a little bit fishy, and I have suspicion that something is going on, and this something is within the public interest. In Singapore, there's no protection for that whatsoever. If we don't like what you're saying, be prepared to defend it to the full extent of objective truth.
In terms of defamation suit, you only can make two stands.
All right.
Apologize or prove that the claim is true.
All right. And so you can't even say reasonable suspicion. Like there's a good amount of evidence pointing in one direction.
Once you take that stance, you're dead.
Okay.
Yeah, because again, there's no public interest.
Okay.
So meaning, even though if I'm the lawyer that's fighting against you, I'll just say that even though you have grounds to believe that it's not true, you still continue to publish the thing. So I would say that he's being malicious. This is how a lawyer would handle you.
Okay. I'm sorry. I'm going to go on a bit of a round here, and I'm going to ask exactly the same question again, because I feel like my ears just failed me. If you have suspicion that something within public interest.
What do you say? Reasonable suspicion.
Reasonable suspicion with a good amount of evidence. But as evidence is, especially for breaking cases that occur at the highest levels of power and the nation, it's going to be patchy.
Okay.
Right? So there's like a 70-80% chance, but it is an important thing.
So what you have said, right, is protected by the fact that government cannot claim for defamation. So if the matter basically pertains to ministry, agencies, etc., you don't have to worry about defamation because the agency can't sue you for defamation. And if they do, then you have this WSHR law principle to that the Singapore court will have to actually argue against. So when it comes to public interest in that sense, in terms of the greater good, in terms of like, say example, poisoning at the water treatment plant, this is the government review. Unless you're saying that the private company basically screw up and poison the water. That's a different thing, because the government will not sue. The water treatment company will sue.
Alright, so but in this case, the individual in question who is quite, irrevocably tied up with the government and politics in Singapore in general, he sort of gets a free pass to come at you because he's a private citizen. It's operating in that. I
wouldn't say it's free pass. Because all citizens have their legal right to pursue any case. For example, Cham Siew Tong himself made I think 2 successful defamation claims against PAP MPs. So I think that's fine. But the question is, why is the highest paid civil servant in the world going after an individual who basically didn't make the allegation himself? That should be the question there. Because I don't deny that there's rights of individual to pursue legal action. But one have to consider his position on what method to take matters with, take issue with.
All right. I mean, it still strikes me as odd because nobody is interpreting this as a defamation of like on a personal level, right? This is quite wound up with politics, though. The line between the personal and the public is blurry. It's very blurry because of the people who are involved. You're talking about the Lee family. I dare say, in some eyes of some citizens, the Lee family is akin to royalty. It's like that, and which is why people believe that the prime minister seat is inheritary, where you just pass to the next, because you're the chosen one because you're the descendant of LKY. So and that's why this suit itself is very murky. Yes.
that while the basis of the suit is on like personal affairs, but
Yes.
because it intertwines into the most important person in Singapore.
Okay. Well, I mean that sounds a bit murky. I can sort of see that. But how are you fighting this case? Do you have a legal team? How are you affording that? And what's the sort of effect that it's taken on TOC as an organization?
Well, I fought the case myself all the way up to, I believe it was last year, November.
All right.
And subsequently, I got Lim Tian.
Okay.
Lim Tian, a lawyer and politician from People's Voice, to represent me, since I assess his ability in defending Leong Zihian in another defamation suit with the Prime Minister.
Okay.
And so I think he can take it.
Okay.
So I got him in and represent. And also this is about advantage and disadvantage of representing yourself.
Yes.
As a layman, you will be given a lot of latitude by the judge to ask certain questions or to make some mistakes.
Yes.
But the problem here is, as a defendant person, you can't hide. Okay, I will use the word hide. You can't hide or be protected by a lawyer.
Yes.
So certain things you must say.
All right.
Because if there's no lawyer, there's behind maybe above you. And when you have a client and a solicitor, then the communication between these two will be privileged.
Yes.
But if I'm the defender myself, when say the solicitor asks me something, I can say, is this privileged information? I myself, how can it be privileged when you can just ask me? The position I would have to take is that I'm unwilling to say.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So it's all this advantages and disadvantages. Yeah.
So how have the costs
Cost
affected you?
I think at the moment the cost is about 5-figure.
All right.
13,000. Because and bear in mind, Lim Tian has represented me pro bono.
All right.
So all these fees that I'm talking about, these are the court filing fees. These are the court filing fees and the transcription fees and miscellaneous.
Okay.
Yeah, so we haven't talked into terms of paying for the legal fees of the other side if I were to lose, and also the damages.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so how has that affected TOC thus far? I mean, right now it looks like this is a severe blow, right? 12,000 is no meager sum.
Again, to sidetrack.
Okay, yes.
The Prime Minister, in the case of Prime Minister, he could have jolly well sued the entity that currently house TOC, which is a private limited.
Yeah.
If he does that, and then which he did for, like, say, I think Far Eastern or the other agencies, right?
Yes.
He filed against the company and then the editor. So when you have that, right, the individuals are protected behind the entity. So even if the entity were to go bust, you don't affect the individuals.
Yes.
But in this case, he went after me directly.
Yes.
So, and I would say he would know that the company is owned by me.
Yes.
So if he bankrupts me, he also closed down TOC. So he wants to actually get the whole thing,
Like
which
nip
is
it in the butt.
nip it in the bud. So it comes after me instead of going after the company that the site is actually belongs to. So I would say that it's very clear what the intention is.
Okay.
Yes.
So
So how does it affect? I wouldn't say it affect the site's operation, but because I'm the only guy running the site,
Yes.
so of course it affects me mentally or financially.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I hate to have to come and ask this dark question, but what are the prospects looking like here? Right? Are you confident that you're going to win? And then what happens from there? You know, there's one scenario where you win the case, and there's one scenario where you don't win the case. Can you tell us about both pathways?
Okay. So I think that would be a better way of dealing with. So if I were to win the case, then I'll just make claims against him for the fees that have incurred.
And then you break even there.
Yes,
Right.
I'm not supposed to profit from
Yes.
this.
I mean, after just the sheer emotional toil and suffering.
And that's the problem with this. What do you call it? SLAP, right? It's called SLAP, right? Strategic
litigation against
public. It's SLAP.
Yeah,
this is SLAP.
This is a SLAP case, right?
For those of you who don't understand, you see, people with money, people with resources, they are not fighting all this legal case themselves. And to them, right, these are like chicken feed money, and they could just hire the top paying, the best barrister, fight his case, just flood the defendant with all sorts of authorities or legal proceedings.
Yes.
Even if they were to lose, because the plaintiff were to lose, right?
Yeah.
What kind of effect does it put onto the plaintiff? Nothing, because to them it's just money. Whereas for the other side, the one being normally they do not have money. They lack in resources, whether in terms of manpower or in terms of finance.
Yes.
And therefore they are unable to cope with their normal day life or their operation, and at the same time having to deal with this. So because of this split mind on dealing with the work and the liquidation, most of the time they will lose. Most of the time they will lose because they can't be fighting both as well. So if they were to just quit whatever they are doing, the operation, to focus on the litigation and win, the plaintiff also will have achieved his objective, because the purpose is actually to distract the person from doing what the person is meant to be doing.
So the just to clarify for our audience, SLAPP, strategic lawsuit against public participation. So it's basically a lawsuit designed to censor, intimidate, or silence critics by burdening them with the cost, the financial, the emotional, the time cost of a legal defense until they abandon their criticism or their opposition. So you don't, the plaintiff doesn't win by winning the suit. They win by making the cost of the criticism so high that they abandon the criticism, and that's exactly what's being targeted at us.
Even if they were to lose the case, meaning they have to pay for the legal fees, they still have won, because the objective is to just hamper the person.
I think, as we both know, the time that we've had to spend defending ourselves against this unrelenting government onslaught, whether it's through the media, whether it's through proxies, whether it's direct criticism, accusations of being a traitor, blah, 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 or whether it's through actual lawsuits, takes so much time and energy and effort and emotional labor on our part. So, I, just a few weeks ago, we talked about the emotional cost for me, and I can't imagine what it must be like for you, because you've had, way more lawsuits than I have. And this is your 10th year doing this, isn't it? You started 2011, you became editor-in-chief 2011.
Well, actually it's
2013. Okay.
I started volunteering with TOC in 11.
Right. So basically 10 years with TOC and 8 years as editor-in-chief, and you have been through the ringer. I mean, I really respect how you're still doing this, because it's clearly taken so much. It's taken so much from me. I can only imagine what it's taken from you.
It's sad in the way how the Singapore social media landscape has changed. Back when I started volunteering with TOC, it was the whole landscape was booming. You have so many blogs that was coming out, having people making comments or commentaries or opinion on current affairs. Back then, TOC basically were just collating all these commentaries and then publishing. But as it happens in 2013 onwards, you have more laws being passed on going after people who publish things online. And you just look at it. Look at Singapore now. Can you name any individual blogs out there that has substantial following? Even Alex Lau stopped blogging. So instead of Singapore developing into a more diverse and more outspoken, I wouldn't say liberal, but more
having more robust
debates as a developed country should be. We are getting more and more communist.
Okay, so one option is you get a slap WP and you just suffer the damages, emotional and financial.
Or if I lose,
But TOC continues. What happens if you lose?
So the problem here is I really doubt they can get the $300,000 that they won for.
All right.
That makes no sense.
So what is going to happen in all likelihood?
But it would depend on the judge,
All
because the judge will have to assess
Okay.
on what kind of damages did Lee Hsien Loong suffered, and
Yes.
what corresponding damages should be paid out to him. And bear in mind, my writer is also being sued at the same time. So we would have to split the damage or be attributed the judge limit to be.
Sure.
So the question is, would TOC be affected? Yes, if I do not have enough money to pay out, and because he's suing me, therefore definitely the plaintiff would definitely go after me for my entire asset. Which basically, it's just TOC. so to have the site closed down, to have it auctioned off, or etc.
Okay.
That would happen.
Okay.
If I don't have the money.
So that's quite scary, right? Because on top of shutting down one of the biggest alternative news sites in Singapore, that sets also a very scary precedent for independent journalism in Singapore. Because then it becomes, well, they took down one, they can take down another, right?
Well, as I said just now, you don't have much outlets nowadays to be.
Yeah.
It's not like in the early. Okay, I wouldn't say when I started off, but let's look at 1.5.
Yes.
There were like 3 or 4 more independent outlets out there.
Yeah.
So probably then to make such a statement, yes, I would say. But now the independent platforms out there are really just a couple of few. The rest that you see out there are already supported by the government. So the through editorials, through sponsorship, through like all this collaboration.
Yes.
So they wouldn't be afraid of that. Even if they were to make a mistake, it's just a slap on the face and just apologize. They won't expect to see anything drastic.
So yeah, that's quite an important reminder there, which is the
Yes.
scene has already shriveled up. It has
Yes.
already kind of
Yes.
collapsed under the
Yes.
fear and intimidation.
So the fortunate thing is that a lot of the citizens basically have social media to turn to.
Yeah.
So whatever stuff that they face with, they could turn to social media, try to gain attention. But but that also brings a dilemma, because some of them think that they don't have to rely on the media outlets.
Yes.
Because they can just go through social media. Why need like New Naratif, Wake Up Singapore, TOC? I could just go to social media and then blast out, and my problem will be resolved. But are you sure? Because what would happen is the government would try to make some redress. They would go through the mainstream media, say that, oh, we have done this, and to pacify the public. But the matter eventually might not be resolved because there's no one following up. You can't be the one following up the thing. I've seen people following up for like 4 or 5 years, and while the government do come in initially, eventually, because the public interest has died off, they have no intention of dealing with the thing. So you need an organization to follow up with certain issues. And especially when your issue is not individual, your issue is something that is cause-based. Whether it's LGBT, whether it's incarceration, whether it's early childhood education, or foreign spouse, all these things, you need an organization to be helping to document, and follow through, and I wouldn't say campaign, but to bring out the issues from academics, from the people in question. Yes.
Yeah. That kind of makes sense in that that's what the government has long tried to do to us, to sort of atomize Singapore so that we're all acting individually.
Yes.
So they can either, address our problems individually, or suppress us individually, or, just deal with each and every one of us alone, because there's no threat, right? There's no threat to their power, and they don't actually need to make any fundamental change to the status quo. Just make individual concessions on a discretionary basis. It's what they fear is when people get together as a group and work for change, and then the group grows and grows, and then they have to concede power or change something fundamental.
Yes.
And that group can only coalesce if there is freedom of expression, there's the right to assembly, there's the right to association. And there are organizations like TOC, or Wake Up Singapore, New Naratif, to help publicize. And so that's why, they're trying to break down all the sort of fundamental building blocks of a democratic society so that they can exert all this power, as you've very, succinctly put it, on individuals.
Yeah, people don't understand, Singaporeans don't understand that mainstream media cannot survive without the support of the government. Because imagine if mainstream media do not have the embargoed news. Imagine that. So, example, if the GST were to change in the next 2 hours, mainstream media has the news 1 hour before. Publish the thing. People say, "Oh, wow, mainstream media is doing a good job to actually bring us the news." No, the thing is, the news is being fed to them in the first place for people to rely on the mainstream media for the source of information. So imagine if all of us we get the information as well, we have published our thing, and people would turn to us for information, which the government doesn't want, which is why we don't get press release. Yes.
But it's also like the whole financial model, right? Because there are a lot of rules about, say, the government has to publish something in the newspaper, and which newspaper do they pick? Well, obviously it's the ones that support them, the ones controlled by SPH, and that helps fund the newspapers.
Yes.
Right? And historically, that's been a major source of advertising. To the extent, like the Singapore Herald, once the government pulled all its advertising from the Singapore Herald, it took out a big chunk of their advertising, and that's a big reason why they had to close down. So again, today, advertising, because so much of our newspaper media model remains advertising, the government still controls that. And that's why it's so important for those of you watching to support TOC, by becoming a subscriber. They can go to, and give you the money directly instead of having them rely on advertisements.
That's the change of the whole media landscape. Because in the past, when newspaper first came out, advertising was a side income. It was people buying the paper and that was the core, which is why the obligation of the reporter was towards the reader, that our duty is to bring you the news.
Yes.
But subsequently, readers felt that there was no point of paying for the news that they read. So the reporters were then obliged more to the advertisers and the people who actually basically the government.
Especially with the birth of the internet. So newspapers became dependent on advertisements and classifieds in particular. But then once the internet came, right, and then the newspapers were putting the news online for free, then people got used to not paying for news, and now the news is controlled by establishment, people who already have money and power and who want to shape the way you think and see the world. And that's why the independent news media is just so important.
I want to kind of take it back a little bit now and just ask you about the personal toll that this has taken, right? So, I mean, I asked this during my interview with PJ as well. But I think there's a lot of, there's a lot of misconception, I think, about activists or about people who fight the good fight and who do work in the public interest, which is that, they're just kind of this figure, they're just this person that you see on a news site or on a news article, but you're a real human being, right? So I just want to kind of know, how has this affected you personally? How has this affected your relationships? How has this affected your mental health?
Well, as I said to the Rice Media in my interview, basically the moment I decided to step on this path, I cut all my ties with my friends, my secondary school friends, and etc. Because the thing is, the only way that this I would say this government would know how to control an individual is like through threats in terms of to their people who they are connected with. Whether it's I wouldn't say siblings, because my siblings is actually doing fine. But it's the people who may influence the person. So I always have this back of mind that if I have any connections, I will always be very worried about going even further on this. And I wouldn't say that I'm prepared to go to jail forever like the Rice Media Road. I'm just saying that if it comes, then it's so be it. Because this, if we were to compare what I'm going through compared to the founding activists in Singapore, right? It's still chicken meat, it's just what's really troubling if someone were to put in my position would be you don't have much to look for in life. Because you don't see an end of the tunnel. It is a constant fight because I can see how much I can earn a month to run TOC, whereas the people I'm going against, or I wouldn't say I'm voicing against, is using the taxpayers' money to do whatever they want. They just say, hey, just come on, just go on. It's just a matter of how. So it's running a marathon with the other side on the jeep, and you're on a bicycle, or even worse, you're running. You're on foot. Totally on foot. So the sense of desperation, or the sense of you can't see an end to it, and it is so much easier to just stop what you're doing.
Where do you find this drive, this
I think it's
passion to keep going?
Initially, it was a passion. Initially, it's like, I want to see independent media, because I believe what's lacking in Singapore, because we have all the public service. So we have like good fire service, we have good police system, we have healthcare system, etc. But our media sucks. This is something that basically is by design. That the media and if I were to look at it, I would say Straits Times is a failed entity, because given that Straits Times has been around more than 200 years. 180.
Almost. It was 150 during World War II, so I think it should be more than 200 by now.
200 by. They should have been the regional newspaper for ASEAN. They should have actually done that instead of SCMP taking over their role. It should be them. And why? Because they were so comfortable. All the editors having all the pay, huge pay, the reporters, and just reporting the news as what the government wants. Nowadays, all the international news, the regional news or international news are from the news wires. They don't have their own reporters. We don't have Singapore reporters going to the site and then doing the reporting. Then what the Straits Times be doing? We should have a New York Times in Singapore, and that's why I say Singapore media failed, because they, given the good start that they had and the established start they have, instead of they should have been looking to pursuing what this an organization should be, instead of going for profit by dabbling with property development. So that's initial passion, but what kept me going is really, whenever I want to stop, then you have people coming up to me with their sob stories. It's not to say it's sarcastically, but really, really, really crazy stuff. One really good example would be in 2016. At that point, TOC was broke. I think $200-300 in the bank, so at that point in time, I think it was in January, Feb. Someone came to me and said, "Oh, hey, there's this story, you have to look at it." This person's son was tasked to report on this case, and he was told to black out on the story, despite actually having work. And this case is actually about the suicide of Benjamin Lim. So at the point, frankly, I was about to give up to close on TOC, but this case came along, and I went down and I reported the thing, and was all of us, we know what happened after that, and was like scolded by K. Shanmugam in Parliament in March, I believe, over that. But because of that, support of TOC at that point went up a bit, and because because of people's support, I can't just say, okay, I already decided to close previously, so let's just close. So every time when I'm supposed to close, you have one really important story coming up, and then because of that important story, people start to say, oh, I will come and support you. So it becomes like you want to stop, but people push you. People want to stop, people start to push you. But eventually, at one point, you would have to stop if the government does really climb down, because there's a limit to what people can help.
Well, I mean, let's hope that this is the incident that drives the support back up. That is, we can least put some fight together, right?
No,
Because-
I think even for the politician in the alternative parties, really, sometimes they don't really trust the citizens that much when it comes to putting up the support that is required.
Yeah.
Because it's really about our upbringing. We are more self-centered. Not to blame individuals, but because
the circumstances.
The circumstances. There's no social welfare to back on.
And the messaging of they'll steal your rice bowl.
I think that's not that, but the fact that every one of us, we have to at the same time look after our family, at the same time look after our own retirement, and commitment, say, to HDB, etc. At no point can your rice bowl be disrupted.
Yes.
And people understand from the past instances that if you were to go against the government would try means and way. Ryan, for example, yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
I'm just gonna point out, someone in the comments actually helpfully pointed out the Straits Times was founded in 1845. So it was the 100th anniversary during World War II. Thank you. Is it Gabriel? Yeah. And then I think I just want to mention something quickly, and then we can segue into the discussion about the proposed law against foreign interference and that whole thing. Yeah.
Yes.
So I just want to, and we'll also take some questions in a bit. But if you're interested in activism in Singapore, New Naratif has our monthly reading group next Friday, 26 March at 8 p.m. It's called Bacha with New Naratif. And you can sign up. Just the link is on our social media. And we have two guests, Kokila Anamalai and Jolovan Wam, as well as myself, who will be talking about activism in Singapore. And tickets are based on donation, minimum donation of $1. 50% goes to New Naratif and 50% goes to the Transformative Justice Collective. So if you'd like to talk more about this, learn more about this, do join us. Okay, so coming back to this, right? So September 2019, Shan gives a speech where he specifically says we must guard against foreign interference, and he cites two publications, New Naratif and the Online Citizen.
Yeah.
Well, he cites you first, and he focuses on you, and then he talks about us.
Yeah.
So definitely we are in their crosshairs, and specifically this law, which Josephine Teo, just at the last sitting of Parliament, brought up again, about the need to prevent quote-unquote foreign interference, even though, of course, let's face it, the Straits Times gets more foreign money than TOC or New Naratif, right? So how do you define foreign interference, right? Channel News Asia has more foreign subscribers than either of us, way more money than either of us. So, and then on the flip side, so many Singaporeans read the BBC, listen to the BBC, Al Jazeera, the New York Times. So how on earth do you think they're going to do this?
My reflection, my experience with the Singapore government is that whenever they have such a declaration, it'll take 1 year for them to come out with that law. They already have this law in mind, but this is the trump, the horn to sound. Okay, this is the start of the campaign.
Was it the trout balloon?
Yeah. No, it's not trout balloon.
No, the trout balloon.
It's just like in the case where the elected presidency, where they start saying, okay, we would start a commission, committee, select committee. No, it's not select.
It was a commission.
Yeah, it's a commission, right? So this commission was set up and say to get ideas. Oh no, there was a poll first. There was a poll first by I think IPS or something to say about people are still
the ground,
people are still racial biased. And then and because of this, they start with this committee to receive opinion on how should we change the elected presidency. And with that, then we come to this the changing of law. This is their SOP, their standard operating procedure.
Yeah.
This would be the horn to say, okay, this will be what we're gonna do, and they will do all this thing. I believe for all the ridiculous law that have passed, admission of justice is one. POCMA is also yes. So all this take about a year. They will actually set out all the grounds before they would throw this and cite all this beforehand. So your question is, so how would it apply given that the BBC or the New York Times?
Yeah, how are you going to write a law that what the hell is foreign interference in this day and age?
I'm not too sure also, because the current law itself already controlled it quite well. Not well, but to their interest, stating that for media outlets that IMDA deem fit to regulate, they will have to declare their source of income, which still is under. And that goes back to your point of discretion, because that law can be passed and not applied.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. So your point about how can it be applied? How can it happen when you have all this discretion? You can have the law, but yet not to all these international bodies.
So it's going to be a bit like POFMA or whatever, where basically someone's going to have the wait. Are you saying two things? One is there's the 377A model. Yeah. There's the law on the books, but we don't enforce it, and then suddenly they do enforce it one day or something, right? Or there's the POFMA model, where a certain person or agency is given the authority to decide when to enforce the law, and it makes no sense about, it doesn't have to make any sense about why we go after this person and not that person. So you're saying it's more of that latter, you think?
Okay, I think the problem here is the IMDA should be the agency looking at this by right. Yeah, the IMDA when we talk foreign affairs, but however, the way how the fact that it was Josephine Teo under the Ministry of Home Affairs making such an announcement means that this law would be coming from the Ministry of Home Affairs.
Right.
So this intervention is not going to be from a media perspective, although it covers media perspective. So it would likely also cover organizations.
Right. That's what Shan said, right? The law would cover both organizations and individuals who are, who have received foreign funding or who have significant foreign links or whatever. And specifically, he talked about you, talked about me, talked about Kirsten, right? Which again, how do you define that? So it seems like the only way to do it is to just have a law that says at any given time we can just declare this person to be a foreign agent and cut off all their funding from Singaporeans. It's the most arbitrary law ever.
I don't think it's the issue. It would not be on funding. It will be immediately make an offense. My view, because funding is already covered by the Political Act, by political, or in your case, IMDA could have actually jolly well come in and say that they can buy your site.
Sure.
They buy your site. They can do what they want. But see, that's the thing. There's already laws. So what is missing? What's missing is that all these things still can happen, because so long the individuals, they just they hunker down and they just move on. They still can do what they want. What is missing is you don't have a law that makes their existence being illegal.
It makes our existence be.
So the fact that you have connections with people overseas that dabble with Singapore affairs, whether political, social, medical, etc., it doesn't matter. The fact that you are dealing with people overseas on Singapore matters would make you a suspect for offense, and you'll be investigated. Whether you're whether you're going to be successfully charged is one thing. But the fact that you all these lines actually applicable, right? So you'll be.
So you're saying the law will be something like it is illegal for a Singaporean to act who has a connection to foreigners to act to what against Singapore interests,
influence to affect to even talk. I wouldn't say even talk, but to have a slight risk of affecting, influencing Singapore politics.
Right, but that's okay. And then, but it won't be applied against everyone, because that's basically anyone, any company with foreign direct investment, any company that has a foreign employee. all that would all count, right?
They're gonna jump in and say that, they're not interested in
Okay.
influencing the political sphere.
But they do, because foreign multinationals all have lobbyists.
Yes.
Lobbying is a multi-million-dollar industry in Singapore, and they pour in so much money into changing. Actually, the whole point of lobbying is to change our laws, right? But these are business laws. We're trying to change civil rights laws, human rights laws, but it's still the same thing, and they have way more money than. So they're just going to ignore all of that.
If I were to put the head of the ministry, right, I will give this example. Remember the Chinese professor from the NUS who got deported because of the whatever he's done.
Yeah.
But because this is not an offense, proper offense, so the ministry are helpless to take action against it.
But they use what, sedition or something? Or
no, they just deported. They just deported.
Okay. So if he was Singaporean, you're saying the Singaporean.
No, he will use that as a foreigner. If I'm in the ministry, I would say he should have been charged.
Right.
Because this is foreign intervention directly.
Well, what about the Sedition Act? They have the Sedition Act. Right?
No, sedition covers what? Other than race.
Sedition covers
race, religion.
A lot of different things that to undermine the governance. I'll look up the exact.
But I believe that threshold is a bit too high.
Oh, okay.
So we're talking about something even lower. So LGBT issues is one.
Sure.
That could be affected, where we have like ties with international LGBT communities.
Yes.
On same-sex marriage or LGBT rights. So long we have, but I don't think they will touch everything. But I'm just giving an example.
Yeah.
They would definitely be looking more of the civil rights, media, even the legal.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it says here under Sedition Act, Clause 3(1)(a), a sedition tendency is the tendency to bring into hatred or contempt or to excite disaffection against the government. That covers everything. That covers you, that covers me, that covers everyone in the street, that covers everything. But like 90% of the comments on the Facebook and YouTube threads right now are complaining about the government. So that's all covered under sedition. Why do you need a new law? I suppose your point is sedition is too high of a bar.
Too high.
That makes sense, right?
Yes.
You want a law that says that you can name to sound something reasonable, right? Like Protection of Justice Administration Act, Protection Against Online Falsehoods Manipulation Act. So this one would be like, the Good Governance of Singapore Act or something like that. Protection Against Foreign Interference in Singapore's Politics Act, right? And everyone's going to be like, yeah, we don't want that. That makes sense. But then
you always have to take cue from how these speech writers for the ministers do. They would cite something, they would go on slippery slope and say all sorts of nonsense and say this is why the law is that. Okay. To prevent anyone who's saying that I'm just talking nonsense, right? Let's take a look at POFMA. The POFMA been practiced as what it has doing best.
I did 2 videos explaining why it hasn't.
It hasn't.
They will sell us one thing and they will then use it differently.
In my case, I was given, I got 5 POFMAs. I got 4 POFMAs. All of it I appealed. Just saying that. One of it, I'm legally appealing to the High Court. Is about the holding salary. Article that's on holding salary. How much is your salary? So basically, a Taiwanese news channel alleged that the holding salary is 100 mil a year. Annual salary is 100 mil a year. POFMA was issued on me.
Not
on
Taiwanese outlet.
On DOC and not Taiwanese outlet. Isn't POFMA meant to be targeted at the foreign entities?
Exactly. They specifically said against foreign interference when they talked about it in the Green Paper, the Select Committee, in the news media. It's all about foreign, manipulation, undermine our, governance, our society, and they've only used POFMA against Singaporeans or people who used to be Singaporean, with the lone exception being Lawyers for Liberty. I think is still
that's not. But that's just crossfire. Because,
but you were the main target.
Melvin was the main target. Kristen was also involved. So if it was Lawyers for Liberty just alone, they might not have been given the POFMA.
I want to jump in here and ask a question, right? Which is, yes, I know none of this makes any sense whatsoever, right? POFMA didn't make sense, and this is not going to make sense. How are you going to define how are you even going to try and hypocritically remove foreign interference when we live in the age of globalization, where we live in the age of lobbying, right? We live in the age of huge international interconnectedness, right? It's all bullshit, right? Frankly, so we know that. But I think practically what's going to happen here is that a lot of these individuals who may be affected, such as yourself and New Naratif, there's going to be a chance where I foresee you'd have to take out foreign funding, right? Any sort of foreign funding that you have, and it would just be local funding at that point.
Don't you think,
like preemptively before the law comes in?
No, I don't think it's, again, I don't think the target's on funding.
All right.
I don't think the issue is on funding, because if funding was the issue, they would have come up with a different law. I believe they know for a fact, because they have ISD and etc. So they know exactly how much money we have.
Yes,
he have, I have, how much our entity have. So they know funding is not the issue. The issue is we still have support from overseas.
Yes.
So
wouldn't the move here be to preemptively remove all support from overseas?
So that's the point I wanted to even push even further. Is there any point holding on? Because the thing is, the problem that I have with us holding on, right, is that you have the law keep changing to try and corner us and hurt our make us lose the go off the race, but yet we still hold on without support from the public. And somehow another public is like taking things for granted and say that, hey, they are still okay, so there's no need to voice against the law. So to what point? What point is it that is not acceptable? To what point that laws are being changed to achieve their goals, right? That is not acceptable. People have to realize that if you don't make noise at the very beginning, you at the very end to the point where the law that's being passed is not acceptable, you will realize that you don't even have a voice. People don't realize that when the circle is closing, right, you don't voice out when the moment the circle is actually on your foot. You have to voice from the moment you see the circle closing into you. And people don't realize that this is the classic
frog in the
boiling water. Because really, by the time that normal citizens realize that the law has gone too far, the existing laws has already made it illegal for you to voice out.
But this is also what I'm afraid of, because there's so much fear, right? And the PAP has been coasting on so many of their past achievements for so long.
Right.
By the time we have the courage to actually vote out the PAP and try someone else, it will be when Singapore is already in smoking ruins already. Then we'll be like, okay, yeah, maybe now we should try some.
But I don't think that will come as in terms of the smoking ruins, but.
Because my fear is that it's going to take a genuine, absolute disaster for us to have the courage to try a different party, different leadership, different government, right? Until we actually hit the point where there's such a massive disaster. Only then.
I'll give you a scenario. Say, for example, if they were to change the condition of election.
Like how? I don't see them change. You mean like making it even less free and fair? Then what do you mean change?
Less free and fair.
Yeah.
Only people of certain caliber can contest. Like what you have in Hong Kong.
No,
because like in Hong Kong, because the thing is, right, under Singapore Constitution, so long you have 2/3 majority, you can change the Constitution as and when you like.
Yeah. But isn't that a step too far?
No, but that's the thing.
Even Lee Kuan Yew didn't dare. He actually talked about changing one man, one vote.
He was just paranoid back then, because back then there's no way PAP will be voted out. No, there's no viable opposition. PAPs were still doing a great job. He was just paranoid because of losing a couple of seats.
The JBJ and Champs.
Yes, but in the event, say if the government, if the incumbent finds that the next election is he or she, the party would definitely lose, right? Would they be put in a position that they would consider changing the constitution? I'm not saying that it would, but the thing is, let's consider this as a possibility. Is there anything stopping them from doing that? I'll say nothing.
No, there's nothing stopping them. No.
That's the thing. People have to realize that there's nothing stopping them from changing the constitution to affect the election. Yeah. And we have already seen from past election that the condition, the way how the election is held can be changed just 2 weeks before the holding election. So the thing is, we have to put this in the back of mind that there's nothing beyond them to hold on power. Yeah.
Apart from people like us, like going around the world campaigning and
but that's no point, right? It's not like
I mean, I guess if we can, but that's part of why they're clamping down on us, because we can then
no traction.
Take something like that and then like make it or make it harder for foreign investment into Singapore. And the number one thing our government, the weakness, right, is that our economy is so reliant on foreign funding that the government has to bend over backwards for foreign capital.
That's what they say used for justification, but in reality that doesn't happen. Because the master is so rich, on paper, that they could just sustain the economy. Singapore reserve in total
50% of our GDP comes from foreign companies with at least 51% foreign ownership. What happens if all that money goes away?
The question to be asked back to the minister is that how much is the government subsidizing this? All this.
Yes, that's true.
I know for sure that all this GLCs, right? The MNCs, right? They have their lands, the plot of land being subsidized by EDB. Some of them being quartered over. They have tax breaks. There's a reason why they are here. They are not here because we have the talents. Because we give a lot of consensus when it comes to like tax. When it comes to
concessions.
So when you say the GDP comes from there, how much we are giving back in return? When we have this figures, again, no transparency.
We don't know.
If we were to really mark out in terms of how much dollar and cents we get from the MNCs, maybe none, because
I'm sure we get something, but I see your point. Our business taxes are very low as well. There's a lot of concessions.
And so what's and let's not forget. The idea of bringing MNCs into Singapore was the idea of brainchild of Goh Keng Swee, and Goh Keng Swee's idea was the skill transfer. And after 30 years, what happened? Why is the skill still with MNCs? So this people have to realize that something is wrong. There's a reason why MNCs are still kept here in Singapore, because to continuously justify we cannot shake the confidence of the foreign investors, and therefore we need to have all this authoritarian laws.
Authoritarian, right? Okay, I just want to take a few questions because we've been here 90 minutes and Terry's been very generous with his time. I'm sure he's got a lot of work to do. So I'm gonna look at Facebook, and can you look at YouTube?
Yes.
So we have a question actually here from, I think it's Paul Thum.
Oh wow.
Who says, don't you think that all this repression and the attacks are simply a manifestation of insecurity and weakness among the ruling party? Surely if they were more confident that they were right, they would welcome an open debate. So what do you think?
Strawmans. You put out strawmans to attack individuals because you have nothing concrete to back against. Because if you really are confident with what you're being criticized for, just put out figures. But with all the coverage that we've been, with all the news that we've been seeing, like what especially during the Committee of Supply debate, you have seen all fluff. Nothing substantial. You put out all sorts of figures, but the thing is, people themselves, they know for a fact that their life is not getting any better. If their life is getting better, just like what we had in the 90s, right? No way Sengkang would have been won by Workers' Party. That's a fact.
Okay.
Well, I think that it definitely, there is a certain streak within the PAP which would do this even if they had a lot of confidence. Because you look at Lee Kuan Yew and the founding DNA of the PAP, Lee Kuan Yew was paranoid. Even when things were good, he was paranoid. I suspect they come from that same generation of, you remember Andy Grove, the founder of Intel, who said only the paranoid survive? Lee Kuan Yew, I think, also comes from a certain very deeply insecure place. If you look at Michael Barr's book and how Lee Kuan Yew is so insecure about a lot of things, and that DNA has kind of bred itself into the PAP. You know?
Okay, if I were to compare it, Lee Kuan Yew is a paranoid politician who basically does the right thing to ensure that his nightmare will not come true. So he offers the carrot and stick. So to politician that would cause a possible disturbance, right? He will offer a carrot. He would hit the person, but also offer a carrot.
Right.
But the current incumbent, right? What they do is, I believe what they're doing is self-fulfilling prophecy. They are doing things that basically would just eventually create what they fear the most.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the difference between the two leaders. The paranoia might be the same, but the way how they achieve to address their nightmares are different.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I see. There's and I think it's also a certain breadth of vision.
Yes.
Because Lee Kuan Yew, in some ways, was doing something new, and he was willing to destroy for the sake of building something new, right? Whereas the current politicians, all they have is what Lee Kuan Yew built, and they're so terrified of losing that.
Yes.
They don't really have a vision for the future. No current, 3G PAP politician, let alone 4G, has really articulated a clear vision for Singapore that isn't simply, let's just keep what Lee Kuan Yew built and tweak it slightly.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm going to take a question here right now as posed to Terry. Do you intend to move some of TOC's operations to overseas to spread out the risk?
Yeah. No, the reason why I remain in Singapore despite moving majority of our ops overseas is that the moment if TOC is only operate foreign-based site, right?
Mm-hmm.
IMDA will come in as foreign site and therefore ban you from operating.
Mm-hmm.
Now they can't say that because I'm here. So anything legally, right, they can come after me. So they cannot say that TOC is a foreign site trying to interfere, even though it's operated by Singaporean to interfere with Singapore politics.
Yes.
So the moment I were to base myself overseas, TOC cannot operate as it is today.
Okay. Well, what do you mean by cannot operate?
Yeah.
As in it would just be banned? Can they do that?
Yes.
Okay.
Under the Broadcasting Act, yes, they can.
So that would kind of be like
it's just like what happened to what's that? State Time Review.
State Time Review, where it's like you have to get a VPN to access it.
Yes.
Like that. Oh wow. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Under Singapore law, yes.
Why don't they come after me then? Because I don't know if everyone out there realizes, but New Naratif has no Singaporean presence whatsoever, aside from the fact that I'm Singaporean and I'm only here because of the pandemic. Normally, I live in Oxford. We have no legal, financial, physical presence in Singapore whatsoever. We're a UK company headquartered in Kuala Lumpur with employees in Bandung, Jakarta, Kuala Lumpur, Bangkok, Phnom Penh, right? So I'm not sure why they haven't simply banned us. I suppose the model that we are based on is the same as, say, the New York Times or the BBC. People here and anywhere in the world can buy a subscription from us. Mm-hmm. But yet we end up being seen somehow in the same headspace, right? The same category, independent media in Singapore. Even though our models are like, totally opposite. You're 100% in Singapore, I'm 100% out of Singapore, and yet we're somehow we're lumped together.
Mm.
Okay, what's the difference? Not to be rude, but you don't have the traction yet.
Mm.
The moment you have traction, meaning you have a sizable following, and been hearing through the grassroots, they will move into it and mark you as foreign intervention.
I suppose that's what this law is for as well. I mean, the law will also give them a basis to mark us as foreign intervention.
Yes.
Because right now, any move against us under current laws, we can easily say, as we did with Asia One and election advertising, we can easily say, well, why aren't you going after CNA, for example, or never mind CNA. Why don't you go after BBC, New York Times, South China Morning Post, Al Jazeera? Because it's the exact same business model.
Right.
And all of those, many of them have offices in Singapore. We don't even have offices in Singapore, but it's the same.
But the offices actually make a difference.
Yeah,
it does. Which is why they barred New Naratif from opening an office here.
Because that's the thing. They preemptively stopped us.
Because if you have an office here, then they cannot say that you're an illegitimate site or outfit. Yeah. So the fact that you don't have a physical presence here basically would allow them to say all sorts of things about you, saying that you're foreign based, you're this and that, foreign funded, you have job solos behind you, things like that. Yeah. So the one was that is TOC working with any opposition? Basically, we work with anyone, whether it's a member or public, opposition members, opposition supporters. Even former PAP MPs would. It's fine with us.
Yes. I mean, I think in general, when it comes to alternative or independent media, we're quite open to anything.
Yeah, we're definitely open. If we were like deranged or we say all sorts of crazy stuff, the government, it's so easy for the government to just come after us and then charge us for something that's just like what happened in Alex Tan's case. But the thing is, they can't, and that's why they have to create all this law. Bear in mind, we were the first to be slapped with POHMA, offense of POHMA. POHA, sorry.
POHA, right?
POHA. And POHA by the government. No one expected.
That's the Protection Against Harassment Act. Yeah.
No one expected the government to be using, especially Ministry of Defense, to be using the POHA to defend itself from a news outlet. And it was after successful defense by Eugene Tharasingham, a law firm, that we won the case, and the government are barred from using POHA. And subsequently, POHMA came along, and we are subject to it. And now we are also the one challenging the POHMA. If the appeal were to be won, the ministers can also forget about using POHMA, which I would surmise that is also the reason why you have this new law, because you have new laws coming up to for the government to cover up the loopholes.
Loopholes.
For example, the 2009 Public Order Act. Why was people are always have this question? Why is it that a one-person assembly is illegal? It all comes back to this 2009 Public Order Act, where K. Shanmugam said, what should be the number? Because before that, it was 5. Any more than 5 is illegal. But because in 2009, prior to that, I think a year or so, right, you have people assembling in 3, 1, and the police were like, oh, what to do? It's not illegal. what can we do? They can only try to barricade against them. But because of their act, garnered a lot of media attention and also public interest. So that's where Ministry of Home Affairs came up with this Public Order Act, making one person illegal, which is crazy.
So ultimately, it feels like they're going to pass all these laws where the discretion just lies with the minister or some appointed agency, because that's the only way to guarantee a law that is sort of loophole proof, because it just then becomes entirely arbitrary. So it's possible to.
Okay, I kind of want to.
Okay, I actually have a question for both of you. Actually, from Alfred in the YouTube chat, Facebook chat, where he says, "I understand New Naratif's direction and their goal (activism). What about Wake Up Singapore and TOC? What's your end objective?" Ooh. So I guess this is a kind of theory of change question,
which I've been able to avoid up till this point. Terry, you want to go first?
What's your end game? You know, like you can't do this forever. I can't do this forever. What's the end game?
It's to actually have a alternative media because in Singapore, if you study mass comm, which media outlets can you go to? Okay, but now I think there's a couple. No, actually, it's still just that 3. So you have the SPH, MediaCorp. Then now you can go to Mothership because Mothership has the money. it's actually not diverse in the sense that if you're a reporter with a very liberal mindset, you can forget about pursuing what you want to pursue, as what your interest lies in those agencies, because you'll be told to actually toe the line. Someone actually mentioned about mothership is okay, but never asked a hard question. If you realize, right, they don't really do much of the commentaries. They simply report or republish the opinions by individuals. But that's their model, you see. The idea is to publish a lot of seamlessly harmless articles and all this, I wouldn't say clickbaits, but things that interest people, and then slot in all these opinions by, say, the PAP minister, slot in this by the ministry. It's like trying to feed spinach to an unwilling kid. That's I would let's say that's the mothership model. They run all this fancy stuff, all these stories, and then in the middle is some of the narrative from the government, and hopefully hopefully coerce the youth from change to have this particular mindset. But so far I see that they're quite unsuccessful, because instead of pushing for the government narrative, they are bringing more of the incompetence of the government. Really, you're not kidding. I give for example, there was one exchange that Ng Chi Ming had with opposition member. I forgot what, is it Thum or whatever? Instead, because I think the video tried to paint Chi Ming as the one who won the debate, but people were scolding Chi Ming all the way and was supporting the other guy. So I think it's Lau Kiang.
Okay.
So the thing is, some people don't realize, but yeah, mothership operates them well, because we have to bear in mind who's their paymaster. Yeah.
So back to the question though.
What's
the end game? Yeah.
Oh wait. So again, I'm sorry, I did distracted from that. The end game is you would need to actually have an alternative media platform that is sustainable, paying working wages, able to pay working wages for people who want to be in this particular line of work. Whether it's for internship training or whatever, but I'm actually it's like 10,000 miles away still so far, because the thing is, so long Singapore's governance doesn't change. I don't see that possible, because if I were to have any Singapore-based writer or staff, it's very likely that the police would go after them, asking them to turn up for investigation to assist, even though they have totally nothing to do with it. They, out of suspicion from the police officer, they could jolly well do that.
Yeah.
And that's a question that's a problem I have. How would a normal student in mass who has interest in reporting be willing to go into this, especially early in the start of their career? Because once you start with this, you're gone for the rest of your career.
This is a really important, in Southeast Asia, a lot of media outlets don't pay fair wages, living wages. And of course, Singapore's living costs are way higher than anywhere else in Southeast Asia. So it's really hard to sustain something that is, purely just Singaporean. But yeah, I hope we do succeed in getting a sort of sustainable, independent media.
And frankly, it's not hard, isn't it? It's not. It's just having sizable number of people supporting. You take, for example, Straits Times. Straits Times sells about I think 100,000 newspaper a day. That's 1,000. That means they have income of 100,000 a day. That's 3 million a month from newspaper. Actually, it's not a lot. It's not a lot for mainstream media. It cannot support their stuff, especially SPH CEO. But it is definitely enough to pay a significant wage to Singapore-based writers. Because and 100K, if people who I consult with in terms of fundraising always use this example. Singapore has 40% opposition supporters, 60% PAP supporters, and if the 40% were to actually pay for the newspaper, we would have enough to survive. But in reality, people don't think that way. End of the day, I currently only have 300 subscribers. So from 300 to 100K, that's still a far way to go.
Yeah, I think that kind of a lot of ways to answer the question, what is the end goal for Wake Up Singapore, right? But I think one way to try and answer that question is that a lot of what Wake Up Singapore is doing and is interested in doing and interested in trying to achieve is in part based off of the work that TOC has done and is doing, right? Because a lot of us, we got out, myself in particular, right? Like I got into politics largely through volunteering and working with TOC. That's where I learned activism. That's where I learned media. That's where I learned alternative media in Singapore. And a lot of times when we are deciding how to push forward and how to move forward, it's always kind of in response to TOC. So TOC does long form articles. They do news as it breaks, right? More really like trying to be an alternative to the state-run media, right?
Yeah,
so Wake Up Singapore kind of looks at that and we're like, okay, so what can we do to kind of complement what TOC is doing? And so what we do, very short form stuff, memes, opinion pieces, graphics, or short ideas that try to point out hypocrisies or stress points in the state's narrative or in like conservative ideology. So I would say that a lot of what we've done is in a way based off of and responding to and trying to support the work that TOC has done, because you guys are like the OG, like you were there first. You set alternative media up, and Wake Up Singapore in a way is trying to sort of keep that flame alive and make that flame grow. So in that way we owe a lot to you. Case in point, what we're trying to do is really keep alternative media in Singapore alive. We're looking really at a landscape where alternative voices, alternative ideas are being shut down. They are being ridiculed. They are being attacked with all the state apparatus at hand. And really, TOC is one way of doing that, right? You get the news, you get it sort of from a different lens, right? There's this free atmosphere where you can contribute, where you can post your opinion pieces, where you can comment on Facebook, right? And then Wake Up Singapore is just another site where we can try and keep this discussion going, where we can put out new ideas and alternative ideas, and challenge the narrative, the dominant state narrative that's being force-fed to everybody.
Because we have to remember, people consume news. Different people consume news in different ways and through different mediums. People who view Wake Up Singapore might not be the ones who view TOC. And then Naratif. Same thing as New Naratif wouldn't be looking at TOC in Wake Up Singapore, because all it's a different audience group basically. So we just like work in synergy.
I think we sort of had this like wonderful thing going, and it's horrifying to me how these new laws and this new habit of harassment and abuse of independent journalists is becoming so much more prevalent. I'm really sad to see the state of alternative media, and it doesn't even look like it's going to get any better. In fact, it looks like it's going to get worse with the laws that are coming. On one hand, I have to say really like we have a wonderful thing going, right? TOC, New Naratif, Wake Up Singapore. There's nice synergy, but at the same time, it's so difficult, and I think we really need to come together and put our support in and with TOC right now.
Actually, before the media outlets.
You had a question?
No. Ask something.
Was there a question in the chat?
No. Thank you to all the subscribers of TOC. Thank you.
Please, everyone, do subscribe. Should we call a halt then? It's been
we're coming to 2 hours.
It's almost 2 hours. I think
maybe Terry, can you end off with like a short last sentence? What can we do? What can the public do? Everybody who's watching this and everybody who will watch this, what can they do in their own way?
Sorry to be pragmatic, but
I think that word.
End of the day, it's really about money. The reason why mainstream media can be doing what they're doing, the reason why the government can be doing what they're doing, is simply because they have the money to burn. Whereas for us, we are burning simply from our passion, and the passion would run dry someday, and doesn't help help it if one day one of us we would just call quits. And where's the surety that someone else will come on board? Of course, we're not holding the members of public ransom. Say, oh, if you don't fund us, we'll just quit. But we are just relaying a reality to you that we want to do what we are doing, and for the sake of the public. But the thing is, if we don't have the kind of support that we need to continue functioning, there will be a day that we would have to close down, especially not just from the lack of resources, but also the harassment from the establishment by the abuse of state resources. So people need to realize you cannot wait, say, every 5 years and say, oh, this is the day. This is the time that we vote them out, and realize that, oh, the PAP won more votes than the last general election. Reason why? Because people don't understand what is the reason why they should or should not vote for the incumbent. And that's where media comes in, because you cannot expect people to make such an important decision of changing a government simply because of 2 weeks of campaigning, or less than 2 weeks of campaigning.
9 days.
Yeah, 9 days. Yeah. So in order for people to make the right choice on election day, you have to have a prolonged education process, where people would realize what are the facts and the pros and cons on what the different politicians are pushing. Take for example, where Workers' Party is pushing for, and along with PSP and other political parties, and what PAP is saying, why minimum wage cannot be worked and they have to rely on the progressive model. We a month-long series on this issue and to examine why. And if you notice, the mainstream media is just parroting what the ministers are saying. They are not really coming out and saying, okay, if we were to go this line, what would be the outcome? And we should also look at the other countries. How have their minimum wage system worked? And it's so funny that every time when we try to relate to other countries, you say uniquely Singapore, we can't follow them, even though they have shown success. Hong Kong, for example, Hong Kong has minimum wage, have their economic collapse. No, right? Yeah. So that's where, ending off, we need support from the public. We are fine. Okay, not really that fine, but we are so far okay with the current state prosecution, harassment. But the thing is, what we cannot avoid is we eventually will have to give up if we don't have the resources to continue our work. Yes.
Yeah, so everybody, please do support the online citizen, right? The big figure, the originator of alternative media in Singapore, here in very, very dire straits at this time, as well as the whole of alternative media in Singapore, right? So another way that you can support, please like and share this video, right? Of course, getting the word out, showing the absolute severity. I cannot stress that enough. The absolute severity of the situation on hand is paramount right now. Don't let this story fall off the news cycle. Make sure that people know about it, right? Discuss about it, talk about it, right? Get people who you know to support, because this really could be the end of alternative media. You know, it's TOC under attack, it's New Naratif under attack. It's going to continue. But what else do we have left? I mean, these are the last few institutions, the last few bastions of free speech and alternative media in Singapore. So please find any way that you can to support, whether that be shares or by supporting monetarily. Yeah.
Okay, so I just want to finish by answering that question. Building on what Terry said, people often ask, what can I do? How do I create change? You know, I want a better Singapore. And I think there's just 3 things. The first thing is you got to step up, take personal responsibility. Change will only happen when you step up and want to create change and are willing to actually put in the work, right? You can't wait for the next person to do it. The second thing is empower yourselves. And that can be so many different things, but you've got to educate yourself, right? Read the stuff that TOC is publishing so you understand what the issues are and you have this different perspective. Read the stuff that Wake Up Singapore is publishing, the stuff that New Naratif is publishing. We're trying to help you educate yourself about important issues in 3 different ways, right? Daily news, memes, in-depth research, plus videos, plus comics, plus podcasts. We've got so much out there to offer you, but you have to educate yourself. And the third step is very simple. It's the only and oldest way of political change in Singapore: collective action. Find other people, help them empower themselves, help them educate themselves, and then get together and find more people, build up a bigger and bigger group, and through that, right, create change, whether it's as simple as a letter writing campaign, whether it's as simple as going for Meet the People sessions, whether it's taking even more steps like joining an NGO, a civil society group, joining a political party, right? Collective action is the simplest and oldest and indeed the only way of creating political change throughout human history. And these are the resources. We're providing you the resources. So please do support what Terry's doing, what Sean's doing, what New Naratif is doing, because we are providing these supports, resources to help you create change. And on that note, if you want to take collective action, join the community. New Naratif is holding Bacha every month, and our next one is on Singapore.
What's that?
Friday. It's Malay for read.
Oh, okay.
It's our reading group.
Okay.
And so come along, join New Naratif as a member. newnaratif.com/join. Donate to New Naratif, newnaratif.com/donate. Come to Bacha Friday, 26 March, 8 p.m. The link is in the comments in Facebook or Facebook, Twitter, whatever. Where, you can see the sign up link there. And join our community, right? Collective action is the only way to create long-term, long-lasting, inclusive change for the benefit of all of us. So on that note, I want to thank my co-host, Sean Francis Han. I want to thank our guest, Terry Shi, the editor-in-chief of the Online Citizen Asia, who, one of the bravest men I know, one of the toughest men I know. Support him. And I want to thank all of you for joining us today. Your comments, your questions on YouTube, on Facebook. Thank you very much, and see you next time. Bye.
Oof.